Hello and welcome to the analysis of the Hindu newspaper dated February 22nd, 2023. In this video, we are going to talk about two important newspaper articles which we have taken from the Hindu newspaper of February 22nd. Alright, so these important newspaper articles are going to be very important for the civil services examination. So do watch this video till the end. And let's now start with the first important newspaper article. Now, this particular newspaper article talks about the India-Singapore linkage of payment services, right? Basically, the linkage of the UPI, that is of India, and PayNow, which is of Singapore. And this kind of newspaper article becomes important for the GS paper 3, that is Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development, and employment. And it's also important for the science and technology developments and their applications and their effects in their everyday life. Let's first start with the context of it, and then we will understand the importance of this particular payment linkage. So India's unified payment interface, that is UPI, and Singapore's PayNow were officially connected on Tuesday, allowing for a real-time payment linkage. Now unofficially, the payments have been going on. For example, the QR code of the PayNow is scanned with the UPI. Now this particular formalization has been done by the governments of both the country. Now the launch was led by a phone call between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Singaporean counterpart, that is Lee Hsien Loong, right? So what is its importance? So the first importance is that the linkage is set to ease financial transactions from Indian diaspora. For example, if your relative is living in Singapore, first you have to, earlier what you had to do? You had to pay it through the SWIFT transactions, which usually took about 1 or 2 days. Now this particular financial transaction can be done on a real-time basis thanks to the UPI and the PayNow linkage. Now Singapore is the first country with which cross-border person-to-person payment facilities have been launched, and this will help the Indian diaspora in Singapore, especially migrant workers, students, and bring the benefits of digitalization and fintech to the Commonwealth through instantaneous and low cost transfer of money from Singapore to India and vice versa. And the UPI payments through QR codes are already taking place in Singapore, though at a limited number of outlets. Now this kind of there is going to be more scale in it, and the transactions will become more smooth between both the countries. And the UPI PayNow linkage is a product of extensive collaboration within the central banks of both the countries, that is Reserve Bank of India from India and the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Now they have collaborated, their two authorities, that is the payment systems operators have collaborated between each other. India's NIPL, that is NPCI International Payments Limited, and the Banking Computer Services Private Limited have collaborated with each other in order to bring about this particular product or this particular interlinkage. Now the interlinkage also aligns with the G20's financial inclusion priorities of driving faster, cheaper, and more transparent cross-border payments, and will be a significant milestone in the development of infrastructure for cross-border payments between India and Singapore. And this particular interlinkage is also beneficial for the G20 financial inclusion between the 20 G20 countries, right? So this is the importance of this particular interlinkage. It goes a long way, and in India and Singapore became the first country with which India has collaborated in the financial transactions, and we will see it further with the other countries as well, right? So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article. Let's now head to the next important newspaper article. Now this particular newspaper article talks about El Nino forecast this year. All right, it basically talks about whether India will witness an El Nino forecast this year or not. Why is this article important? This article is important for the GS paper 1, that is geography section. So now India is experiencing a colder than normal winters, which basically implicates that it is a La Nina event. So the La Nina itself is going on for a record-breaking third consecutive year. Now the forecast for the 2023 fall and winter are predicting that there is 50% probability or possibility for its companion phenomenon El Nino to occur. El Nino means warmer winters, right? So this is basically predicted at this particular point of time. Now let's understand what is El Nino and La Nina. So El Nino basically refers to a band of warm water spreading from the west to east in the equatorial Pacific Ocean, which basically causes drought in one areas and the subsequent heavy rainfall in the other area. Heavy rainfall at this particular point of time is being experienced in India and the surrounding countries. Now, the years in which the El Nino occurs are called El Nino years, and the global weather patterns that year tend to be anomalous in certain ways. Now, similarly, a La Nina occurs when the band of water spreads east west and is cooler, and both the phenomenon can have drastic effects on the economies that depend on the rainfall. Now El Nino basically is accompanied by La Nina, and La Nina is basically covered by or it is subsequently replaced by the La Nina. La Nina, El Nino, El Nino, La Nina. Now this occurs, or this is the pattern in which they occur. Now what will happen to the cyclone formation and the monsoons? So basically a transition from the La Nina winter to El Nino summer historically tends to produce a large monsoon deficit on the order of 15%, right? If you are going to decrease the monsoon by this amount, so in an economy or in the agriculture which depends upon the monsoon, we can have drastic effects. Now this means a pre-monsoon and the monsoon circulation tends to be weaker in an El Nino year. Now the vertical shear tends to be weaker as well, and this in turn can favor enhanced cyclone formation, weak rainfall, and at the same time very high cyclone formation, which is basically drastic for any kind of economy. So as far as monsoons, if an El Nino state does not emerge by summer, we will likely have a deficit in the 2023, and some research has indicated that Indian Ocean dipole, a seesawing of sea surface temperature over the tropical Indian Ocean, could compensate for the negative effects of the El Nino, but we do not know what is going to happen at this particular point of time. We'll figure it out in the future whether the Indian Ocean dipole has any effect on it, or whether we are going to see a very weak rainfall, and this may lead to drastic effect as well. So but we do not know whether there is a robust relation between the dipole and the summer monsoon, nor whether the dipole will evolve the right way this year. So we do not know what is going to happen. We are just predicting what is going to happen, and this particular newspaper article is basically about predicting what is going to happen, right? Because the geographers do not know at this particular point of time how this particular situation is going to turn out. So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article. Wait, there is some other factor to it. So additionally, there are monsoon vagaries themselves. So for example, pre-monsoon cyclones are susceptible to warming in the Arctic region and could in turn affect the onset of the summer monsoon. For another, the Bay of Bengal has of late been receiving fresh water from the heavy rains and anomalies higher runoffs, and these waters tend to sneak into the Arabian Sea, producing surface warming and build up subsurface heat, and these changes together may create favorable conditions for the formation of bigger cyclones, especially if the circulation and the vertical shear are weak. Basically, what it is trying to say is that there is going to be a deficit of rainfall, and this will deficit of monsoon, and this will lead to formation of bigger cyclones, right? It makes sense. So now this is it regarding this particular newspaper article, and this is it for the day. Thank you from my side. Do like and share the video and subscribe to this channel. Have a good day. Bye.